are talking trade once again here at Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, and it's not just other teams' trade buzz that we're talking about early on in the NBA season. No, your Boston Celtics seem to be pretty active here. A new report has come out from an NBA insider that suggests that Brad Stevens has been working the phones and trying to see what kind of deals are out there early on in the NBA season. The Celtics are 8-7, but that doesn't mean that moves are not on the horizon. We'll break down what this quote said in just a moment and what moves the Celtics could be looking at. But first, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because if and when the Celtics make a move, you know we're going to be bringing you guys a video right here at Celtics Today. And if it's a big enough move, we might just go live on the channel. So you don't want to miss anything. Hit that subscribe button for free Celtics content every single day, and turn your notifications on as well so you never miss a moment here at Celtics Today. All right, Matt Moore of Action Network, who's worked in the NBA for a long time, and when he comes out with a report, I just listened to it. He says the following: Boston is routinely mentioned as a team that continues to canvas for opportunities. It's tough because they aren't willing to take on money after their cost-cutting efforts this summer, but they remain one of the more opportunistic teams out there. Okay, so this is what we've heard, and we know a few things already about Boston's mindset when it comes to a trade. Looking back to the summer where they dealt away Kristaps Porzingis, dealt away Drew Holiday, and let their front court in free agency walk, we kind of know what Boston's trying to do here in this sort of gap year, transition year with Tatum on the sideline and a lot of uncertainty in the future. They're looking at this from a standpoint of, we don't want to take on big-time contracts. We're already above the luxury tax line and not really at the talent level of a bunch of other contenders at the top of the league this season. So they don't want to take on big contracts, and they probably don't want to take on big-time money or long-term money either, I should say. Brad Stevens probably doesn't want to take on multi-year deals. What he's probably looking for is, multiple contracts that are close to expiring, and they're something in the realm of $5 to $10 million that Brad can either flip or just ride out the contracts of after he has already taken some money off the top for your Boston Celtics. The question is, for Boston, though, who are they trading? Like, who are the players that are on the Celtics' radar as far as trade candidates for this upcoming season? We talk about trade targets all the time, but who could Boston be shipping out? Well, I mean, we have a couple of guys who I believe are automatic untouchables, right? Like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White. There is really no deal that I could see Boston being offered in any realistic capacity that sends Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, or Derek White away here. Not only are Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown super difficult contracts to trade, but Boston has no interest in breaking up the Jays anytime soon. And Derek White getting paid just under $30 million, like, that is one of the best value contracts in the NBA. So you're not going to deal any one of these three guys. The situation that probably will be the case is they end up going out there and dealing somebody else in their rotation. Now, it remains unlikely that this ends up happening, but for the right price, I do believe that Sam Hauser or Peyton Pritchard could be available in a deal, right? In the right deal for Brad Stevens, if push comes to shove and you need to shed off a couple more $1 million, and Sam Hauser gets you towards that, and you get Sam Hauser getting dealt, gets you underneath luxury tax, and the Celtics, I think, are going to go out there and make that move. Unfortunate, because I love Hauser. He's an underrated defender, and we know how good of a shooter that he is. But if his name pops up from an opposing team that could be beneficial for the Celtics to move him, I don't think Brad Stevens is going to hesitate. He can go out there and find another Sam Hauser sooner or later. I think it's painfully obvious, I've been beating around the bush for a little bit during this video, that the Celtics are going to be trading Anfernee Simons. Like, this has been the kind of mindset since he was dealt for, that this was not going to be a long-term marriage here. Simons on a $27.6 million contract for this season that expires at the end, and they're probably not going to be looking to bring him back long-term. Just based on what we've seen so far with Simons in a Celtic uniform, it hasn't been anything too inspiring, but what's more evident is that Joe Mazzulla probably isn't the happiest when Anfernee Simons is out there on the basketball court for a couple of reasons. One, he isn't a great defender, and then two, he doesn't always put the best foot forward as far as his effort goes on the defensive side of the basketball. Now, he's averaging career lows across the board in points per game, assists per game, steals per game, even as one of the lowest marks of his career. However, he is having one of his more efficient seasons, especially from long range, shooting above 40% from deep so far this season. But overall, it's just not something that Anfernee Simons is incredibly used to here. He's in a new role. He's taking a career low in field goal attempts this season. He's playing a career low in minutes per game at around 25 a night. Like, he's in and out of the rotation. Some nights he's playing 35 minutes. Other nights he's playing 15 minutes. Like, it's not exactly something that Anfernee Simons is super comfortable with. So it makes a lot of sense that he's not exactly in the best overall rhythm so far this season. But at the end of the day, like, Brad is probably going to go out there and deal Anfernee Simons. Now, from his point of view, like, you would probably want to feature him a little bit more than just 25 minutes a game if you're looking to get any sort of return for Simons here. There are talks that you have to potentially attach a first-round pick in order to move off of Simons' big-time contract here. So we'll see if they find that deal that ends up coming about. We're going to talk about some of them on today's show. But if you're an Anfernee Simons fan, I got to ask you, or if you're not a fan, I also got to beg the question as well, what to do with Anfernee Simons? T for trade, K for keep. Very simple question here. Would you keep Anfernee Simons past the trade deadline or not? Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Now, you can have your answer, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't know if we necessarily have a choice. I think Brad Stevens is going to do whatever it takes to trade Anfernee Simons away while also shedding some money off the top on their salary cap sheet. Unless some monster offer comes along, we got a couple of blockbusters on the back half of today's show as we'll go through some Anfernee Simons trade ideas in just a moment. First, though, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor and our friends on the program over at Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Get started with the best daily fantasy sports app in the game and download Prize Picks today. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats, and you can win up to 2,000 times your money in one single fantasy sports lineup watching your Boston Celtics. It's the best. Prize Picks offers the best features as well. You can have stacks. So yes, stacks. If you want to have multiple stat projections in the same lineup from the same player, like if you want a Derek White points, Derek White assists, Derek White blocks, all in the same lineup, you can do so only on Prize Picks. It's also becoming a social event as well, where you can follow other creators, follow your friends, follow celebrities, and copy their lineups into your own using the brand new feed tab. I love Prize Picks. I've been a customer longer than they've even been a sponsor here at Chat Sports, so take it from me. The most aesthetically pleasing app in the game, the easiest to use, takes less than 60 seconds to create a lineup, and they're always hooking new users up with the best deals. Right now, new users can get $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. You just got to use our promo code CLNS. So download the app today. Use that code CLNS to get $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right, and all that information is clickable down in the comment section and description of today's video. Alrighty, a bunch of these teams already have big-time trade buzz in early 2025-2026 season. Sacramento, they are an absolute dumpster fire, and they could be looking at an entire fire sale. They're talking about shipping off Domantas Sabonis. We'll probably make a video at some point this season talking more in depth about a Domantas Sabonis trade. I don't know how likely it is, but that name's getting floated out there, as well as Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. I'm sure that for the right price, they would be willing to move off of Keon Ellis, definitely Malik Monk as well as a name that could be moved. I think the only guy that's probably an untouchable, or the closest thing to an untouchable in Sacramento right now, is Keegan Murray. But even then, if the right deal comes along, I'm sure Sacramento wouldn't be opposed to potentially moving him, even though he just signed a contract extension. The Dallas Mavericks, I mean, they're in that same sort of bucket with the Mavs, or with the Kings here. They are struggling. They're not going to be a playoff team in the West, and they have number 1 overall pick Cooper Flagg on their roster, surrounded by a bunch of old, grizzled, and kind of washed veterans at this point. They look to be in fire sale mode as well. They're looking to potentially trade Anthony Davis. I don't think that's too likely to Boston, but when you're willing to trade Anthony Davis, you're willing to trade other players on your roster as well. So could potentially look at a guy like Daniel Gafford or a Najee Marshall getting moved out of Dallas as well. Could potentially be Boston Celtics targets here. Memphis, it's crazy, but Ja Morant is potentially done in Memphis. His days could be numbered. There are reports coming out right now that the Memphis Grizzlies could be pretty much shopping Ja Morant and seeing what the trade market looks like for their star point guard. They've grown frustrated, and he probably needs to change the scenery, to be quite honest with you. Detroit, they're in a weird spot, not really similar to these three teams in terms of shipping off a bunch of talent. The Pistons seem like a team that's kind of one piece away here. They're at the top of the Eastern Conference right now. Cade Cunningham is playing like an MVP candidate so far this season, and they're probably 1 or 2, isolation scorers away from having enough offense to go out there and win the Eastern Conference so far this season. So watch out for them. And the Charlotte Hornets, interesting. I only bring them up because of the LaMelo Ball stuff that came out in the past few days. He ended up going on Twitter and putting a clown emoji around Kelly Iko's tweet that had LaMelo's soft trade request there. So we'll keep our eyes on the Charlotte Hornets here. they could be looking to move off veterans and build around Concaneppel and their young core that they have out there right now. All right, so let's get into some Anfernee Simons trade ideas with a couple of these teams potentially involved as well. So the Kings are involved in this first one, a 3-team idea from Fansided. And this is a deal that is on the more realistic side. It's not going to be the sexiest for Boston. And I know you guys are probably crazy, looking at me crazy right now because I got Bradley Beal coming to the Boston Celtics here. Bogdanovich as well. I like him as a scorer. And you get rid of Anfernee Simons. You create about $6 million in cap space on this deal. The Celtics get some salary cap relief. Who knows? You could potentially flip Bogdanovich to another team and get off basically all the money that you sent away for Anfernee Simons here. And then you get Bradley Beal, one of Jason Tatum's closest friends, in alongside the rehab next to JT. Bradley Beal has season-ending hip injury going on right now, so he's not going to be playing for the Boston Celtics, but he's on a cheap deal, and it'll be expiring. You'll move off that money at the end of the season, and he'll just come rehab with his boy JT. The Clippers get some much-needed scoring alongside James Harden and Zach LaVine as they continue to try to make this Harden-Kawhi thing work. The Kings, they end up getting some expiring deals as well, and Anfernee Simons and John Collins here. So I don't mind this deal too much. It doesn't make the Celtics any closer to contention, but it does move some money around, and I think it's a solid idea that we could explore. We can talk about this one a little bit as well. This definitely makes the Celtics a much better basketball team, but really doesn't create too much cap space. It creates enough to where you get below the first apron, but you don't get below the luxury tax in full. So could they potentially move that Andre Jackson Jr. contract and get a little bit closer? Maybe. We'd have to wait and see. But the real centerpiece, no pun intended, coming back would be Nick Claxton in this 3-team deal with the Nets and the Bucks, coming to Boston in exchange for Anfernee Simons, Kyle Kuzma, and a first-round pick that's top 5 protected via Boston, and it would be a Bucks pick swap going to Brooklyn as well. They would get Sam Hauser in the deal, and they would be able to move off of that terrible Kyle Kuzma contract there. So I think this is another win-win-win deal across the board. Maybe it's even a little bit too much being given up by Boston here, but I think Anfernee Simons and a first-round pick in exchange for Nick Claxton would be enough, and Sam Hauser as well would be enough if you asked me. Last 3-team deal that we have here on the show, and this is a little bit more money coming off the books, I would say, and you don't lose Sam Hauser in this deal either, as Daniel Gafford would come to Boston, as well as a $27 million trade exception, which I think Boston could use the following season after the luxury tax repeater penalties are all washed away. That is an awesome wrinkle that I think would be underrated and go under the radar in this deal. The Mavs would get Anfernee Simons and Haywood Highsmith. I think some draft picks would have to be floated around in this deal, probably more to the Mavs in this instance because they're giving away a good player in Daniel Gafford. And then the Nets participate for a little bit of fun. Klay Thompson gets off the Mavs books. Dwight Powell gets off the Mavs books. And they get a couple of second-round picks for just joining the fun and facilitating this thing financially. That was all the 3-team trades that we have. And then finally, we're going to get a little weird on this one. We're going to get a little wild. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think that this could just be the most fun thing, potentially maybe putting the Celtics back in dynasty mode once again. Yeah, we talked about it before. F it. We're all in. Let's go trade for Ja Morant. And I'm not saying that this is like a guaranteed thing the Celtics should go out there and do. I think it would be fun to explore. We might even do a more in-depth video on it. But this would be Bill Chisholm saying, screw the repeater penalties. We're going all in, and we got another star in Ja Morant here coming to Boston. I think he would fit really, really well. The Celtics have the shooting that would be able to surround Ja Morant because he's been a terrible outside shooter so far this year. But I feel like you just wouldn't be giving up too much to go out there and get a guy in Ja Morant that was looking like a franchise player a couple of years ago. Like Anfernee Simons, Sam Hauser, and a couple of firsts for Ja Morant. Like, I would be all in on making this move. It is probably a pretty solid risk, but at the end of the day, what we know about the Celtics here is they're probably not going blockbuster hunting when it comes to trading away Anfernee Simons. And Anfernee Simons, in all reality, probably isn't going to command a big return like this Ja Morant deal, or even a Nick Claxton deal, to be quite honest with you guys. Like, I think it's one of those situations where if the Celtics go out there and make a trade, I would not expect it to be a blockbuster. I would expect it to be something a little bit more similar to that first 3-team trade that we talked about that sent Bogdanovich and Bradley Beal and only cleaned up a little bit of money, got them below the first apron and not exactly below the luxury tax line. Maybe another move would come after that, but for now, I think that's probably as realistic of a move as it gets. Maybe something along the lines of that Daniel Gafford move. I would cross my fingers. I would do that move in a heartbeat. Which one would you be most inclined to go out there and accept? which trade do you like best? Maybe scroll back in the video, scrub it back, and go through the trade ideas that we had. But which trade idea are you most enticed by? Let me know down in the comments. And make sure you give me a follow over on Twitter, as that will do it for today's edition of the show. At Tyler J. Smith, 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. YouTube.com/CelticsTV. We'll be covering all the latest Celtics trade rumors as the season goes along. So we'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, let's go C's.